afternoon. My name is Ray Gilbride. Welcome to Wespeak.com. Today's show, we're going to be talking about the exploding problems that the Pacific Northwest has. Sanctuary cities and the lack of leadership in Olympia has caused a super drug highway from the southern border to Washington State. Here to help us understand a little bit about this, we have some special guests. Our first guest is a known author of American Sheriff. He's the leader of the American Sheriff Network. He's the sitting sheriff of Pinal County, Arizona. Sheriff Mark Lamb is here today. We also have Representative Bradley Klippert of Washington State. Now, Representative Klippert is also known as Commander Klippert, with 33 years combined experience in the military. For the people in his hometown, he's known as Deputy Klippert, an active deputy sheriff in Benton County with 27 years of active law enforcement experience. Sheriff Lamb, thank you for the show. We appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
Sheriff Lamb, we are seeing an increasing number of illegal aliens and drug flow from the southern border coming up to the northwest. Now, I believe that the media is not being truthful in this. They're not telling us the true numbers of drugs or people. Can you shed some light on what some of these numbers really are?
Oh, it's the numbers are staggering what's happening down there. Look, while the cartel loves it when you get a group of 14,000 Haitians that show up at the border because the media will focus on that. And the cartel continues to push women, children, military-age men into this country. They continue to rape the women, use the children as pawns. They extort the men, and then they bring in the drugs with them. And now they've shifted to the synthetics like methamphetamines and fentanyl. And I'll end that question with this: is in 2018, we had 0 M30 fentanyl pill seizures at my sheriff's office because they're producing these little pills. Because as Americans, we're a lot more likely to take a pill than we are to inject ourselves in the arm or between the toes. There's a stigma that comes with that. But in 2018, we had 0 M30 fentanyl pill seizures. 2019, we had 677 pills. In 2020, we had over 200,000 M30 fentanyl pills that we seized just at the sheriff's office. And this year alone, by August, we were at 1.1 million fentanyl pills that we seized. And I guarantee you, we don't get 10% of what's coming into this country.
Sheriff Lamb, you're obviously being overrun down there with this situation. Can you tell us, how is this affecting your ability to do the normal sheriff job of serving and protecting the people of your community? This has to be making an impact.
You know, that is a great question as well. Look, my duty is to my people in my county first and foremost. So clearly I don't have enough people to deal with the border issues. I have to focus on my county first. But we do. We have an anti-smuggling unit. We work hand in hand with Border Patrol. We have Stone Garden funding, which is federal funding that helps us work with Border Patrol. We've got our drug agent, our narcotics guys that work this. And plus you got we've got our canines who are interdictors who work the highways, and they interdict for drugs as well. So look, we're putting a lot of resources at it, but I think it's important to understand that this is not designed to stay in Arizona. So when you talk about humans and drugs coming into this country, it is important that Americans understand that majority of that is designed to go outside of Arizona. So I think communities in the Midwest and the Northwest, the East Coast are going to feel this a lot deeper than we are because we're used to it. They're going to feel it a lot deeper because that's where the drugs are designed to go.
Representative Klippert, thank you for using your lunch break, because you're actively on duty today, and coming on the show with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. My honor, my pleasure.
You just heard about the volume of drugs coming up through, the 1.1 million pills that come through, and the substantial numbers coming up here. Can you tell us on the street, how do you see this affecting what you do every day and what do you see on the street?
Oh, it's horrific. We're seeing an increase in overdose. We're seeing an increase in homelessness. We're seeing an increase in the breakdown of the family. We're seeing an increase in crime. We're seeing an increase of suicide because people are losing all hope because they're getting so addicted to these very dangerous drugs. So the consequences are horrific in our community in Washington State.
Sheriff Lamb, do you think or do you feel that the cartels have more than just a foothold across the United States? Do you think they're up here even in Washington State?
Oh, the cartel business is everywhere. If you have drugs in your community, then you have the cartel in your community. They're not just going to send their product over the mail and say, hey, send us the money when you can. They oversee the wholesale piece of it, and then they oversee the collection of the monies after from these low-level gangbangers who are actually selling the drugs on the streets for the cartels. So they're everywhere already throughout the country. We see it in our communities. Fortunately, we don't see a lot of that gang activity because the cartel, where they do business, they also do not like gang activity because it hurts their business. What you see with the gang activity is typically fighting over territory of where they're going to sell their drugs that the cartel has wholesaled into those communities.
Sheriff Lamb, from our past interview, we found out from a gentleman who was down at the border talking to some of the Border Patrol people that up to 90% in some cases of the illegal aliens that enter the border there and the drugs that come there are a direct pipeline to Washington State and other sanctuary cities. Now, I don't know if you can verify the percentage, things like that, but what do you think about that? What can you tell us about that?
You know, I don't know what the percentages are, but I would safe to say that the Border Patrol understands that all these people are being spread out throughout the country. A large percentage go up to the Northwest because the Northwest politics are a sanctuary for these people. Wherever you have communities that are refusing to enforce the law and hold people accountable for being in this country illegally, those are the communities that are being hurt the most and where the cartel wants those people to go because they're safe there. But it's happening all over. The reason why America hasn't realized the severity of this problem yet is because your own government, the federal government, is spreading people throughout the country so that we don't feel the immediate impact. But I will tell you right now, if you stopped border security, if you put a stop to border crossing today and you stopped all the drugs and all the people coming across, I'm afraid that the cut that we have already taken is too deep. I think that, and mind you, having said that, they have not stopped border security. So it is continuing on today, and it will continue on until they decide to stop it. That's how deep this cut already is. America is going to have a tough time recovering from this.
Representative Klippert, we understand that recently there was a report of 5 drive-by shootings in one night in this area. Now this has to be, or is it fair to say this is cartel related, drug related? What's your thoughts on that?
Absolutely, positively correct, sir. With the influx of illegal citizens, people from other countries coming through what are basically our open borders, you are absolutely positively seeing rival gang members coming illegally into our state and our nation. And those rival gang members are, their drive-by shootings are at a high increase across our nation. Homicide, one person killing another person, is up by 30% across our nation.
Here in Washington State, as far as I remember, I have never ever heard of 5 drive-by shootings in any one area ever reported one night.
In one community.
Sheriff, it's absolutely infuriating to me what is going on down there. Well, first of all, they're not even trying to hide it. They just walk across the border, run across the border, carry drugs across the border as if there's no punitive damage or no penalties. And apparently there's not, because of the failed leadership in Washington, D.C. And I say failed leadership because it is failed. Leadership is an oxymoron in this case.
Yeah, the media, the mainstream media, and DC, the politicians are lying to you. This is about politics to them. You know how you know it's about politics? We had the recall election in California not long ago. And while we were dealing with what was going on in Afghanistan and a border crisis, our president and vice president thought it was most important to go and stump for a governor who the people decided they didn't want because they recalled him. That was more important to them than actually dealing with the issues we were dealing with as a country. What that should say to Americans is this is not about America to them. This is about politics. And this is about furthering their political views and what they want to do to this country, and not about the American people. And to me, that's appalling.
You know, more evidence of that is absolutely crazy to me. It's obvious how many people in America have never seen a Western movie or even rode a horse for that matter. They don't know how to steer a horse or how to ride a horse. So now they're actually taking one of our greatest tools that protects our people in the field and does its job. They want to take the horses away. You yourself use horses. We've seen you on horseback. So looking at this situation with some of the terrain down there, there's no way that we can get to some of these areas without horses. Now they want to take it, making it easier, take it away, making it easier for the drugs and the sex traffickers to get across the border. What is up with that?
Well, they want to stop anything that's effective. And the horses, the nation saw how effective the horses were for turning people back. And that's what the government saw. And so the government said, hold on, we got something that's effective at stopping border crossers. So let's do away with it. Let's tell them they can't use the horses anymore. And not only that, we're going to shame those people. We're going to diminish the badge. We're going to undermine the rule of law by going after them. That was the most they talked about the border. Kamala Harris, that was the most she talked about it since she took over. And so at least we have their attention, but it was directed in the wrong direction. What they should have been talking about is if you don't want to get hit with the reins of a horse, then don't cross the border illegally. And why are we not asking the question, what are these Haitians doing trying to cross into our country illegally in the first place? They created a problem. The politics of this administration created a problem, and they wanted to turn around and blame our Border Patrol agents for it. Shameful. There's a reason cowboys don't cut cattle with ATVs, because ATVs are not near as maneuverable and they can't deal with the terrain like a horse can. Horses were very effective. They used them in a very effective manner. I stand behind Border Patrol and what they did. And if those guys need a place to come work for me.
Well, anybody that's ever been around a cattle cutting competition or been in cattle cutting knows an ATV cannot turn as quick as a horse's head. And so it's ridiculous to me. Well, Sheriff Lamb, what can the people do? What do they need to know? How can they help?
Well, first and foremost, don't get caught up in the chaos that this government and the media want you to see. They create chaos on a daily basis, not only for Americans, but for law enforcement. Don't get caught up in the chaos. Focus on controlling what you can control. Turn off those TVs, and then go out and support groups. Do your homework. Don't just listen to them saying science and then go with that, because that most of the time they don't have any clue what they're talking about. There is so much science that contradicts to the things that they're trying to tell you. So get out. Educate yourself with many different sources of information, and then support good groups. You know, we've got Protect America Now, which is sheriffs standing together from across this country to stand up for the American people, the rule of law, and the Constitution. And we're going to fight against bad policies. So you can see that at protectamericanow.com. And we've also got something called American Sheriff Network. They took away live PD. They took away cops. They took the voice away for law enforcement. And we're trying to bring that back. You can see it at americansheriff.com. We'd love the support. And then just make sure that your elected officials know what you expect of them. Remember, they work for you. We are not their subjects.
What I tell the people is look at the fruit on the tree. Don't buy into the big show. Don't buy into whatever they say. If they haven't had a track record of doing it for the past 10 years, what makes you honestly think they're going to change and do something good now?
The only thing that's keeping them in line is the Second Amendment. Do not give an inch on the Second Amendment. Without that, they would have buffaloed us already. So we've just got to hold the line, stand together as Americans. Don't let them divide us over race, religion, politics, any of that. Let's come together. Let's find common ground, and let's stand up for America and the American people.
Representative Klippert, how do the people of Washington State reach you if they want to ask you more questions about this subject or possibly about your running for Congress? How do they get a hold of you?
Klippert, Klippert, 4 FOR Congress.net. I say again, Klippert, 4 Congress.net.
Well, again, Representative Klippert, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking your lunch break and putting the jacket over your uniform to come on the show and help us today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I look forward to the opportunity.
Well, Sheriff Lamb, I want to thank you so much for taking your time out of your busy schedule. Most people don't know, but right now you're actually standing in an airport hangar waiting to get on a plane, but you stalled off long enough for this interview and to help us out, so we appreciate that. We also want to thank you for your continued efforts, what you're doing at the border, because you are a frontline officer down there. You are standing the line to protect and serve the people of America. I want to thank you for that, and we appreciate you being on the show today.
Thank you, brother. God bless, and thank you for what you're doing.
Here at Wespeak.com, we not only respect, but we back the people in blue. We back everybody in uniform because they are putting their life on the line, doing things to make our life safer. So we ask you to support them, to back them, and to honor them. We have real problems in America, and it's not going to go away by talk and phony media. It's going to take people doing their due diligence, researching and making sure you vote the correct people in who will stand for the Constitution, who will stand for the Second Amendment, and who will protect you and your family. From Ray Gilbride at Wespeak.com, thank you. Have a great day, and remember, be kind to the ones around you.